Hello and welcome to another podcast with Lillian and Andy. Today we're going to talk about neuroplasticity and exercise. This is a fascinating subject and I'll hand you over to Lillian.
You just said that back in time your nurse said what?
Yes, yes, my Parkinson's nurse told me that back in time they used to think that you had to rest if you were diagnosed with PD, and now it's the complete opposite. We all know that exercise is really, really good. One of the best things that you can do for this condition.
So did she tell it like a story back in time, or was she still in that mode when?
No, she definitely believes that exercise is really important.
Okay.
So she's not stuck in the past, but that was how people used to think. We used to think that you had to rest and you would get better eventually by resting, which is the complete opposite of the truth.
So we agree so far. And I found an article. It was due to a discussion in my school. Please join us so we can become more. There are 80 people already, but it's good to be more. So here is an article about that subject.
In the last decade, epidemiological evidence has established an association between the amount of physical activity and risk of PD, primary prevention, supports a disease-modifying secondary prevention role, provides plausible rationale of exercise for symptomatic relief, i.e. tertiary prevention, highlighting the pivotal role of exercise. Although a neuroprotective or neurorestorative disease-altering role of exercise for individuals at all stages of PD remains controversial and mysterious, an inflection point has occurred that will lead us into a new generation. It's fascinating, isn't it? I was watching a video with Jimmy Choi yesterday. He's an amazing man. He was diagnosed with PD in 2003, and now he takes lectures about how to maintain your fitness and what this will do to the progression of your condition. And he just seems to have a small tremor in one hand, and he's been diagnosed for 23 years. It's
Yeah,
extraordinary.
he has actually become better.
He has become better, yeah, because he was in 2010, he hadn't done any exercise because he was told not to. And he suddenly thought, right, I'm going to start walking. He started running. He started getting fit. Now he's super fit and his progression has reversed, definitely.
It sheds some more light into that because let's see, there are a growing number of scientific studies. Yes, we have seen some of them. And here comes the interesting thing, and that is that they start using DaTscan
Mm.
before and after. So if you maybe read here from the cursor.
Using a case study design of a single runner with PD, assessed by DaTscan, 3 days before and 3 days after running a 100-kilometer ultramarathon race, Daviet et al. Reported longitudinal improvement in bilateral posterior putamen caudate nucleus dopamine transporter binding.
So just stop here. It's that scan became better
Yes, yes, it says
due
that, doesn't it?
to exercise.
Yes, it says in longitudinal improvement. That's so positive
Yeah.
and clear.
So can you hear that that scan
The Holy
is not the
Grail.
holy grail that you have Parkinson and it can never become different.
I'm so encouraged by that.
If you read a little here from the cursor.
Can the appropriate exercise regimen slow or perhaps even stop? I think that's halt disease progression. Big
Yeah.
questions cannot be answered by individuals. Increasingly, a team science approach is adopted. We hope the current research topic promotes a more radical team science approach, greater collaboration among patient scientists, clinician, in which people with PD are empowered as partners or colleagues rather than as mere objects or subjects of research.
So just
That's
stop
very
there.
good.
Isn't that good news?
Yeah, that's very good because you often feel like you're an object, a subject for research, but to be included, to be consulted, and to be part of the process is so important.
Yeah, so here they start talking to people with Parkinson's. Isn't it amazing?
At last.
Yeah. Let's just read from there.
Using data from the Parkinson's Progressive Markers Initiative, she et al. Reported a positive significant mediating effect of physical activity in the relation between DAT in the caudate and putamen separately and PD global cognition.
And they reported exercise-induced increase in caudate dopamine release and vertical.
Striatal activation.
Here they come again. They supervise exercise involving cycling on a stationary bike with some gaming functionality.
Okay, okay.
Um, Features 3 days per week over 6 months course. Here we see a, can we say, shift
Yes,
in the
definitely.
idea that DaTscan is the holy grail, and if you've got a positive DaTscan, that's sort of the end of it.
Well, the positive DaTscan creates a trauma in your mind, and your body. It creates a trauma which you need to kind of unpick because it's not 100%. They change. DaTscans change. This illustrates that. If I went for a run now, my DaTscan would probably be different to
Yeah, and
before and after.
that's exactly where it become interesting for me because I have a master in biology and I figured out that Parkinson is so extremely stress related
Mm,
that I can help people can we say, unravel all the problems in life, that childhood trauma and so on, and help them to become better and better, less and less stressed.
yes, and on top of that is the whole diagnostic process, which is so stressful. To be told you have this degenerative condition, to be told that you have a DAT scan that's positive, this is very, very traumatic and
Yeah,
needs to be questioned.
exactly. And now we can start pick it apart that scan is not something if yeah you have got one, but what if it actually told you that you were extremely stressed somehow?
And it also, the suggestion is it's not fixed, it changes. So
Yeah.
if you had a DAT scan at one point in the day, it would be different to another point in the day. So it's unreliable.
Yeah. This idea that you have that scan that show Parkinson one day and then you do a ton of exercise and then the that scan show a picture more towards normal.
Mm,
And if you add again the biological knowledge that the key thing, what they call mystery, is that you burn off all your adrenaline from being in fight, flight, and freeze. You get
mm,
down to a more relaxed state. So the
mm,
mystery gets resolved, unfolded if you check into the our biology of fight, flight, and freeze. So, and
mm.
in my perspective, everything I've done, everything I've seen, that I can always rip people out of a symptom. Not all and not forever, but for minutes and hours. And I can help them reduce symptoms over a long period. That it is a person that starts in constant fight, flight, and freeze, and
Mm.
then get easier and easier access to the rest of digest relaxation. And again, if you look into our cousins, the rest of the mammals, if they have fight, flight, and freeze, what do they do to get out of that? If there's a danger, there's a lion after them, they run and run and run. So starting with an initial high dopamine and high adrenaline, they run until their body is emptied for adrenaline and they look behind their shoulders, they are safe again.
Mm. It's why exercise, you feel so good after exercise. You
Because
feel kind of,
exercise is the human way of getting out of the fight, flight, and freeze
yeah,
cycle.
it's like pressing the reset button. You
Yeah.
just feel reset, you feel calm, you feel better. And that's the reason you're burning off all this excess adrenaline.
Yeah, there's no mystery about that. That's how mammals does, and that's how humans do it. But you can say our problem that we don't react on our adrenaline. We keep sitting in front of this computer or stay indoor, and then we say Wednesday 2 o'clock we go and have a run in the gym or in the wood or whatever. So we don't do as our biology tells us. We just wait, and somebody do nothing and some have it in the calendar. So
Mm.
if we did as the rest of our mammalian cousins and ran or fight it when we felt this peak of adrenaline, that was it. We wouldn't go into a long-term stress. But what do humans do when they get stressed?
We just sit still, which is terrible.
Yeah, so we allow whatever the news in the television or social media, we allow it to take over our body and create this fight, flight, and freeze, but we do nothing.
And our passive state continues this story, doesn't it? We
Yeah,
sit there on our phones looking at bad news on social media and we're perpetuating the problem. We
yeah,
should be going for a walk in the woods. That would be a
y-
much better idea.
yeah. And if it's a terrible news, run or bike or do something so you get an outlet for all this adrenaline. And if you do not do it, this adrenaline caused by one program in the television, maybe it can sit in your body for or stay in your body for days before it slowly get out. So you feel this more
Mm,
intense state.
mm. And it's why you feel so good after exercise.
And that's exactly because you use the body's adrenaline to do exactly what is the intention.
Mm,
You burn off the adrenaline and go back to rest and digest. That's what we need to get back to, this simple understanding that if we get stressed, we have to do something about it. But we've been conditioned to be passive. That's
yeah.
the modern person do nothing.
Sitting on a desk all day long, getting more and more and more stressed and not being able to release that adrenaline that's
Yeah.
building up.
And
It's
and then
toxic.
it's toxic, and then we get all the, can you say, the common diseases, high blood pressure and maybe
Mm,
even blood clots. That was where it started back in the 70s, where businessmen started to drop dead. But there are so many more implications on your body, so many more symptoms that you can get if you have a high adrenaline level. But
mm,
here in the Parkinson, you have the tremor, that's the build-up of a rush to fight, flight, and freeze. And you even have the tremor to reduce it again.
mm,
And you have the freeze symptoms, that's the same word as you use in biology, freeze. That's another instinct we can use. And as it stands in the article, that you start to talk to people,
mm.
then you will hear the stories about stress.
Just one further comment about tremor, Lillian. When I do exercise, my tremor gets worse. Then I lay down and relax, and my tremor gets better than it was before I exercised, which
Yeah,
is very, very revealing.
yeah. And this about sport and tremor, there's a lot of things going on because tremor is a sign of so many things, but it's also a sign of over exercising, that you do more than your
Mm,
muscles are prepared to, and so on. And so the story is long and complicated. But here, just to say, there's no mystery. If you are in fight, flight, and freeze, you would probably long term get a bad DaTscan. If you exercise, you burn up that natural adrenaline, and get back to rest and digest. And like they say in this article, you'll probably get a lot better DaTscan.
So interesting. It's brilliant.
That's good news for the Parkinson world, that more and more studies are coming up that can sort of rip apart all the old myths. One thing is that you have some physical symptoms and need to figure out what's going on, but hopefully doctors stop putting the doom and gloom. You will get worse, you will end in a wheelchair, there's nothing to do. If they could just take off that layer of, it's actually called nocebo effect, because that make people give up, become hopeless, depressed.
What's the point of exercising if it won't do anything?
Yeah.
But it does do something. It does an awful lot.
But we'll come back to that, because exercising is a long, complicated story, but we can maybe come back to that another time.
I think we should. I think we definitely should.
So goodbye for
Goodbye.
this time.